What do you tell a woman with 2 black eyes? Nothing. She's already been told twice. What does a woman with 2 black eyes do? The dishes if she knows what's good for her. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, I wanted to jump on and talk about this because apparently comedian Matt Rife is being canceled, which, full disclosure, I've known Matt Rife for a long time. We're not besties, but I just figured I should say something because in case people get super mad at this video, I know how these people are, and they'll go digging through social media, and then they'll find a picture of me and Matt Rife somewhere. Maybe. I don't know if we've ever even taken a picture together. I know I've known him since he was a kid, though. Like, we used to chat on Twitter. That's when I was on the road with Joe Coy, and he was always hitting us up. And Joe Coy was one of the first headliners to really have him on a show, I believe. I could be wrong about that. I don't know his whole history, but I do know Joe Coy had him on super early. We both used to chat with him on Twitter, and Joe had mentioned to me before that he really liked how hungry he was. So that's just an FYI. Also, for anybody that thinks that I might be doing this because I think Matt Rife is going to give me work, you clearly don't know my career and what I do. I would not be a good fit to open for Matt Rife. I haven't watched the full special, so this isn't going to be a review on his entire special. He does have a Netflix special out. It's called Natural Selection, and some people are upset about a joke he did. Before we go any further, I'm just going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to comment just to help me on the algorithm, but you don't know what to comment, just put a knife, because you know that somebody is going to come for my neck about this. And just so you know, the sponsor of this video is Red Pill Threads, but more on that later. Let's get to it. So Matt Rife did a joke at the beginning of his Netflix special where he references DV, and I'll just go ahead and play the joke really quick for you guys so you guys can see it for yourselves.
I've only been to Baltimore one time. I ate lunch there, and the hostess who seats you at the restaurant had a black eye. A full black eye. It wasn't like, what happened? Yeah, it was pretty obvious what happened. And we couldn't get over the fact that we were like, this is the face of the company? Like, this is who you have greeting people? And my boy who I was with was like, yeah, I feel bad for her, man. I feel like they should put her in the kitchen or something where nobody has to see her face, you know? And I was like, yeah, but I feel like if she could cook, she wouldn't have that black eye.
So as far as the joke goes itself, the 2 jokes I did at the beginning of this video were jokes I heard when I was super young. Did I think they were funny at the time? Yeah. Do I think that they're particularly funny in this day and age? No, but only because, like I said, I've known them, but I don't really care about the content, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Matt Rife doing the jokes that he did, and especially for the reason that he said that he did them.
Testing the waters, seeing if y'all are gonna be fun or not. Just wanted to see. I figured we start the show with domestic violence. The rest of the show should be pretty smooth sailing after that.
And that's something I definitely can relate to. Sometimes you do start off with a good punch in the face to the audience, no pun intended, just to see where they're at, see how much fun they're going to be, and see how much you can get away with. Especially in a special taping where Matt Rife is known for being kind of cutesy and almost like the comedy version of a pop star at this point, because he blew up on TikTok and he got I think 18 million followers on TikTok or something like that, and he's big on Instagram, and he became known for crowd work and being super fun and, I guess, audience friendly in a certain way. But to me, it really was just him trying to set a tone and say, look, if you're not down with my actual stand-up, if you're just looking for the kind of stuff I do on TikTok, then I'm probably not the actual comedian for you. Also, I would say when a comedian does something like this, that basically serves as a trigger warning saying, if that bothers you, then don't watch the rest of this special. Because a lot of us don't live in trigger warnings where it's like you're about to say something, you're like, trigger warning, I'm about to talk about, I just talk. So if I say something that triggers you, it's time for you to leave. It's time for you to excuse yourself, because I'm not going to change who I am to accommodate you. Which some people would say he's betraying his audience because he's built up a largely female audience on social media. But is it his fault that women find him to be attractive? Because I don't really think that's his fault. And as as far as the situation that he talks about, where he talks about the woman having a black eye, I would bet that he was in Baltimore to do stand-up. So he's hanging out with other stand-up comedians, probably his opener and his feature, and this situation really comes up where he sees this hostess with a black eye, and that was probably the way that their conversation went, and he was just like, I'm gonna take that to the stage, which is something a lot of us do. But I think we are all assuming a lot by automatically jumping to the conclusion that the woman that he encountered had to have been dealing with a DV situation. There's a chance that that woman got into a fight with another female. There's a chance that that woman just hit herself the wrong way while she was doing housework, which is something I personally have done. It is possible that she just had a blood vessel burst, which is something I literally suffer from. And it happens every once in a while where I just get a black eye. There's actually kind of a lot of pictures of me on my social media during those times because I still have to work, I still have to do sets, but the black eye was not caused by any blunt force trauma. The black eye was just because I had a blood vessel burst. Also, there have been times, if I'm being 100% transparent, where I've been getting injected with Restylane or Radius. I don't remember which one they can do under your eyes. One of them they can, one of them they can't. Neither here nor there. But my point is, there have been times when I've gotten injected and I've ended up getting a black eye from that. So my point is, it's kind of a leap for us all to just assume that this woman was dealing with DV when in actuality, it may not have been anything like that. And is it not his right as a comedian to joke about anything that he wants? I personally have no boundaries when it comes to my stand-up comedy, and I think most comedians in this day and age aren't at all worried about offending audiences like that. And of all the audiences that I performed for, I can honestly say most audiences do not get offended by that kind of stuff. I personally have been in DV situations in some of the relationships that I was in when I was much younger. And when comedians joke about DV, it doesn't put me in a bad space, and I don't feel like they're in any way victimizing me. And I don't think that every person that's dealt with DV considers themselves to be a victim of DV. I've seen some people describe themselves as survivors of DV, which is a more empowered stance to take. I've seen people describe themselves as having experienced DV, which I think also denotes a level of separation from the situation and not necessarily feeling like they were a victim of it. I've also known people who have been in male-female situations that were toxic enough that they were both physical with each other and it was mutually combative. So there's so many ways where a person doesn't necessarily have to be a victim, and you have to understand that every time you hear something that may trigger a feeling in you, it doesn't necessarily mean that the people that have dealt with that are feeling particularly triggered. Some will and some won't, and that's different for each person. So if a person were to watch that and say, hey, that's not for me, or that's not my kind of comedy, I 100% respect that. But trying to make it your entire cause and trying to make it so that Matt Rife is now canceled doesn't sound like the smartest way to go at it. And I think what a lot of the cancel culture people are forgetting is that the more that you do this and the more that people like Matt Rife just stand up to you and say, okay, I'm not going to make that an issue in my life, the more you guys look like the toothless dog you are, because cancel culture had gotten so out of control a couple years back that people just got tired of it, and now it doesn't have the same effect. Also, I watched a couple of videos from a couple of people that really seemed kind of off. They were a couple of women, and they just seemed like they don't really understand how comedy works, and just a little unhinged, to be 100% honest, because the leaps that they take and the things that they say, I don't think that they understand that you are 100% what we don't want at a comedy show anyway. As comedians, male and female and everything in between, we really are not looking for the sensitive people to come out to comedy shows, and we're not looking to win you over. We really do feel like if you're that sensitive, stay home, because Matt Rife has apologized for what he said. On Instagram, he posted a story where he said, if you've ever been offended by one of my jokes, here is my apology. Today's video is brought to you by Red Pill Threads. Red Pill Threads is a new brand that runs against the mainstream narrative. We tackle social and/or political issues with humor and veracity. We aim to help fight child trafficking by donating a portion of our proceeds to Operation Underground Railroad, which If you want to look into Operation Underground Railroad, check them out for sure. But I definitely do know and will tell you from speaking with Garrett that this is something he really believes in. So much so that he's more about donating to Operation Underground Railroad than he is about profiting for himself. And if you don't know how I work, I would never recommend anything that I don't actually like myself. And this particular clothing company, I was first introduced to by my friend Leonardo Joni. And I really liked a lot of the t-shirts, and since then I ended up building a relationship with the owner. Not a relationship like that, don't get excited, he's a married man, not that that ever stopped me before, but we're not having that kind of relationship. But I really do believe in his brand, and I really do like that he's such a genuine and sincere guy and the mission. So please check out Red Pill Threads down below in the description box. I'll also make it the pinned comment. And then there was a link, and the link to their apology turned out to be special needs helmets. Which to me is perfect, because he's basically saying if you get offended by jokes, you're a little bit of a Riri. And guess what? I agree with him. And I always say it's never what you actually do or say that makes people mad. It's the fact that you won't apologize for it, because people feel like you should apologize and you should take accountability and there should be talks and re-education. And it's like, no, some of us are just like, I did the joke, I said it, you laugh or you don't, you watch the rest of the special or you don't, whatever you do, but I don't owe you an apology, especially when I saw what it was some of these people were saying and the way they all assume that we're going to fall in line and start to take on their morals as our morals. DV is a terrible, terrible thing, but joking about something sometimes is just joking about something. And maybe it's not as deep as you want it to be, but maybe if you want that kind of depth, you need to go watch another comedian that isn't Matt Rife. You also need to remember that you can't cancel what you never subscribed to, because the people that are the most angry at him are people that you can tell already didn't like him to begin with. So if you never liked him to begin with, he loses absolutely $0, and he actually gains watch time, to tell you the truth, because you go to hate watch his stuff. But when it comes to actual money, it's not like ticket sales are lost, because you, who never liked him anyway, choose not to buy his tickets, just like you haven't been so far. So when people are talking about how his reps haven't responded, it's because they're too busy counting money. His reps don't care. Maybe they talked to him a little bit about it. This is show business, so I wouldn't put it past them to give a little bit of lip service, but I really doubt that they had any kind of real talk with him, because it's like, okay, you've sold out a world tour, you're number 2 on Netflix right now, we are winning. What am I going to make a statement about? About the fact that my hands are tired from counting money? I don't think anybody's going to have that conversation. And one of these particular people that I'll play a little clip from, she's one of those people that's just involved in everything. I checked out the rest of her TikTok because she's one of the first things that popped up when I searched this, and she's got opinions on Israel and Hamas. She's always calling somebody out for misogyny. She also had a problem with Oprah and The Rock and the way they handled Hawaii. She was calling for a boycott for Starbucks and Disney. It's like, when you're a person like that, you're always going to find something to be miserable about. So why am I going to pay attention to you when you're a person that clearly loves living in misery, and I'm a person that lives in happiness and joy? Because while on my channel I will express the things that I'm frustrated with or the things that I get annoyed with, the fact is I'm really good at my job, which is stand-up comedy, making people laugh, making people feel happy about things that they may not necessarily always feel the happiest about. That is where I like to live. But then you see people like this and you're like, no, you just constantly live in this, and you're upset because everybody doesn't want to join you. So let's go ahead and see what she's trying to say really quick.
I think I'm going to open my show with a joke about violence. Oh, like a clever piece of satire that can offer some catharsis to violence victims?
A clever piece of satire that can offer some catharsis to DV victims? Okay, let me tell you, because every once in a while you see people that try to do it this really super politically correct way that she's describing. It's never funny, it's never good, and the only thing it leads to is what we call clapter, which clapter is clapping in place of laughter. People will agree with you, but they don't think it's funny, and so instead they just And then we as comedians sit in the back and like, okay, well, where's the joke and where's the punchline? So right there already doesn't get what stand-up is.
No, I'm thinking more something at the expense of domestic violence victims, about a waitress with a black eye, and then the punchline, get it, is she got it because she's not very good in the kitchen. That's the joke. Okay.
Can we get any more liberal white woman than the pearl clutch? That's the joke. Please, grow up, miss. If you're going to be dealing with situations like this, can you be a little bit less like a child? And also, am I the only one that thinks it's a little unhinged that this person is pretending to have a conversation with Matt Rife, putting words into his mouth, even though that's not why he said he was doing what he was doing? You're basically speaking for him and saying this is what he must be doing and why he must be doing it. No, that's what it would take for you to do a joke like that. He, in fact, may have just been doing the joke in order to test the audience like he said he was. Just like at the beginning of the Scream movie, when Drew Barrymore immediately got killed at the beginning of the movie. It was setting a tone for the rest of the movie.
Maybe remember for a moment that you built your career on an audience of women.
Okay, he built his career on an audience of women. That argument to me is the same as me saying Charlize Theron built her career on an audience of men. And the fact that a lot of men would go see movies with Charlize Theron in them because she was beautiful was not on her. Charlize Theron was just being an actress and doing her thing. So when she decided to do Monster and outright made herself look unattractive and played a serial killer of men, was she betraying her male audience at that point by making it seem like they were all just Johns that some woman should kill? Because I don't think she was. But all of a sudden when it comes to Matt Rife, he's supposed to be ultra worried about the women that have chosen to watch and share his stuff on social media. And for anybody that thinks that this is because Matt Rife is a man that I'm saying this, also know that I've said something similar about Eliza Schlesinger, about Angela Johnson, about Whitney Cummings. These are all attractive women that some people in comedy used to get mad at because they were beautiful women. And so a lot of guys and girls would be like, people are just coming to see them because they're good looking. And it's like, well, what do you want them to do about it? Should they cut their faces up with glass, or what should they do in order to be aesthetically what you think a stand-up comic should be?
And given 1 in 3 women experience some form of in their lives.
Also, 1 in 6 or 7 men, which we all know when it comes to men and DV, it is very, very underreported, and it's also not treated the same. So to assume that women are the only ones that could get offended by this anyway, to me also is misandrist on your part, which misandrist is what they call it when it's women hating men. And the truth is, I don't talk like that and I don't think that. But if this woman is going to live in this world and make it seem like everything is so offensive, then you have to be ultra careful in the way that you talk about men too. And I don't want to hear how society says this and society does this. Yeah, there's a lot of problems in society. But the problem right now is Matt Rife's language, according to you. And I'm going to say my problem would be, if you're going to be the language police, if you're going to be the arbiter of good taste, then you have to tiptoe the same way you want everybody else to tiptoe.
Do you really think your primary audience is going to find that very funny? No, that's actually the point. I want women to know that I'm not pandering to them.
Yes, he has built his audience the way he's built it and off crowd work. But his special and a lot of what he's doing now is focusing more on material. So is he betraying his audience also by sticking to material rather than just doing a bunch of crowd work? So if he's betraying his audience by not pandering to women, then he's also betraying his audience by not just doing crowd work. I think Matt Rife is just saying, I'm a grown man, I'm an actual comedian, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and anybody else can feel whatever they want to feel about it. The fact that you guys turned me into a comedy pop star isn't going to be the focus of what I do, and I'm not going to change what it is I think stand-up comedy is or the stand-up comedian that I want to be because you guys have painted me into these particular boxes. So I feel like Matt is being honest enough to say that if that's why you're watching me, if that's why you're here, then I'm letting you know right now that I'm not that. So govern yourself accordingly.
Okay, that's a choice. But if you know that most women are not going to find a poor taste joke funny, Who do you think will? What do you mean, who? Men, of course. Men. You think specifically men find jokes at the expense of domestic victims funny? Yeah? Just take a second to hear yourself.
Take a second to hear yourself, please, because you sound ridiculous. There comes a point where you have to understand stand-up comedians don't think the same as SJWs on TikTok. We just don't. So the way you're running through it is exactly what I said earlier. That's you thinking about what it would take for you to say a joke that particular way when it may not be that deep for him at all. But you need to make sure that your audience stays fed because, to tell you the truth, you're rage farming. You may not want to accept it, but you are rage farming.
You, as a man, wrote that joke because you think men find violence funny. Yes. Wow, you really don't see it. Oh my God, the way they all eventually tell on themselves.
Wow, you really don't see it. Oh my God. The way liberal white women always will show you that they have no sense of humor ever. Nothing can ever be fun for them. I guarantee you what this person thinks is funny would not go over at a comedy club at all. These people are ruining stand-up, and I am 100% thankful to Matt Rife for sifting these people out. So I also want you to see this one more video before we're completely done with this, just so you see another reach and level of ridiculousness that another user posted. This is TikTok once again, the home of the Riris. Some of you really should have clicked that link and got that helmet, because then at least we'd know what we're dealing with when we saw you, because you look pretty normal, but everything that comes out of your mouth.
I really didn't want to weigh in on this Matt Rife thing because, to be honest, I don't want to give him the time of day.
You didn't want to, but you had to. The world needs to hear from you. Somebody we've never heard of. We were waiting for you to make a statement. I'm so glad. Whew.
I've hated him ever since he went on that podcast and was talking about women's clits and was just being like really repugnant. Honestly, I never thought he was funny, but after that I was like, you know what, that makes sense.
Okay, so you saw him on a podcast. You didn't like what he said. You never thought he was funny to begin with anyway. You're exactly what I was talking about when I said people that never subscribe to something definitely can't cancel it. Your vote that doesn't matter.
Anyway, I've been kind of like percolating on it all day. It's been all over my For You page, and I genuinely think he's pandering to almost like a Trumpian audience at this point, and I'll explain what I...
Because it always has to go back to Donald Trump. It really is Trump derangement syndrome with a lot of these people, and they try to mask it as anything else, but it's just like, no, you're still mad at Donald Trump. So let's call it what it is. Toots.
I saw a girl make a TikTok about his response to people's response to his piece of special. This is on his story right now. I literally just got the screenshot like 5 seconds ago. If you've ever been offended by a joke I've told, here's a link to my official apology. You click the link, and it's a link to a special needs helmet, which in and of itself is a joke that would have landed so hard at like the 5th grade cafeteria table, but like it's just so deeply like unfunny. It's just there to be offensive and to pander to that very specific audience. This is an audience that loved Trump.
Let me help you out. All of this is being done so that you help promote his Netflix special. And guess what you're doing? You're promoting his Netflix special. So please, purchase the helmet. And not for us. Purchase it so you remember what you are. Because if you don't realize that that's exactly what you're doing is promoting a special, you are retarded.
For his controversial takes. They enjoy the discomfort of others. They like pissing off. Like, I mean, this isn't political necessarily, but it all kind of falls under the same umbrella, in my opinion. The, like, woke left. And yes, 100% he's trying to alienate his female audience. 1,000%, that much is clear. He literally said that. But it's just, first of all, people who fall under this umbrella are just never funny.
You wouldn't know what funny is. You're not the target demo. You don't get it. Trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm around comics all day, every day. This is everything we hate in the audience. These are the people that'll sit there and they'll cross their arms and they'll think they matter. And sometimes we'll get upset and we'll cuss them out. I personally don't anymore. I just let everybody laugh around them and let them see exactly how much they're alienating themselves, because I'm not going to give any time when it comes to live performance performance to any of these people. These people do not matter. We don't need your money. We don't want you at shows. I can speak for the entire comedy community, from the waitresses to the bartenders to the managers to the comedians. Nobody wants you there. Stay home.
But it's weird to see the shift. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he soon starts to go on like right-leaning podcasts and becomes like a Fox News contributor or something.
Becomes like a Fox News contributor or something. The fact that you can hold in your laughter at that is what tells me that you are not what we want at a comedy show. The fact that you thought there was anything funny or amusing about you just saying Fox News contributor tells me you don't know what funny is. So why would we listen to you when it comes to funny?
Like, these are a very specific sector of people, and he is slowly but surely sticking it in there.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm anxious to know how you feel about it. If you agree, cool. If you don't agree, cool. Either way, let me know what you think down in the comments. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.